different departments within the state of Missouri accountable to that. But the other part of that, all we look at is spending money. We never look at the size of government. We never look at the efficiencies. Our state government is bigger than the state of Illinois. That's out of control. We have got to fix that. But what we really need first and foremost is a Senate that's actually going to work. In the 6 years that I've been in the House, every year there's been an extended filibuster. And this past year, the budgeting process was cut so short that by the time the Senate got through their budget, it was forced down our throats. The statutory timeline, we did not have the opportunity to be able to make changes. So it was a conscious decision. We had an extended caucus meeting because of the filibuster, not giving us the time that we needed to look at the Senate changes. We either had to take the budget or break statute in order to do it. What the governor is doing is right. The Senate bloated that budget, bloated. Our revenues are going to be going down. In order to take care of those with disabilities, we have to be efficient as to how we're spending the money, but we've got to have a Senate that's going to work. All right, so with that, take care of those that can't take care of themselves, trim down the government, but have a process where we can actually talk between the two chambers and get it done right.
All right, Dan, I'll read it for you. Missouri.
Woody, you don't have to.
Okay, thank you.
No, not a problem. So CDS funding comes through the Department of Mental Health. That, I know they're going to irk on me a little bit, but since 2016, we've doubled that funding. We see the Department of Mental Health, obviously mental health issues, but going back to people with disabilities. They want to live independently. We want them to live independently. We need to take care of them. I can't agree any more with both of them, that our budget process is broken, especially this past year. We put in a 2.3% up for CDS. It was taken out in the Senate. We in the House tried to do it. We tried to get it done. It is important to let these people be able, not disability, disabled, let them be able, let them live independently. Thank you.
All right, let's see, we're ready for another question. This would be number 13. And who gets to start this one? Michael, I believe. You guys are keeping track. Oh, that's right. Number 13, one-liner. What restrictions would you place on assault rifles or handguns and why?
I would put no restrictions on the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution or the Missouri Constitution. We have a right to keep and bear arms, period. Period. And I will protect that right. All right? We have got a mental health issue. We have got a drug issue. We have got a border issue. We have got an alcohol issue. We have got a treatment issue. The issue is not the guns. We need to protect that right, and I will protect it.
And your next, what restrictions would you place on assault rifles or handguns and why?
There is none. I will not support any restrictions on our Second Amendment. Like Mike said, we have the right to bear arms. It is not the gun's fault. Just like Mike said, we have a mental crisis issue in our country. These issues we need to attack first, not the guns. As being an NRA A-rated person for all my time in the Missouri House, I support it. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. I support our rights to bear arms.
All right, Rick, same question. What restrictions would you place on assault rifles or handguns and why?
Actually, I'll never vote for that. I'll actually sponsor legislation to further your capability to have your rights protected at all costs. Back in 2015, I had a constitutional amendment that enshrined in our state constitution that you ratified by an enormous margin the right to ammunition, small arms parts manufacturer, and other parts that are essential to the proper functioning of firearms. It's huge, folks, to every avenue that could be restricted. You voted and said, we don't want our Second Amendment in any way, shape, or form restricted. I was able to sponsor it, and you were able to ratify it, and that's what you said. Now, there are other things like stand your ground. That's another one that not only do you have a right to these firearms, but just like we saw with the McClowskys, you also have a right and should have a right to protect yourself with that firearm. Unfortunately, we have these rogue prosecutors that want to do everything imaginable to take your right away or put you through the gauntlet and make you lose everything just because you did. That's why I do enhanced stand your ground, and I've been trying to sponsor it. And our Republican Senate has been killing that bill every year, which leads to that infighting. What does that do? It makes sure that the onus of the prosecution is on the government to say that it was rightfully, it was within your rights to be able to protect your life and limb. Right now, the onus is on the person who had to defend themselves. So not only did they have to go through this egregious situation, protecting themselves, but now they've got to literally lose their entire livelihood in order to defend it in a court of law. So I'm not only against restrictions, I'm for advancing, and I sponsor those advancements. No one else on stage has done that.
All right, this is the next to last question. That's number 1. And Dan, you get to start it. Number 1 says, Missouri faces various challenges, including health care access and affordability. What legislative initiatives will you prioritize to improve health care outcomes for Missourians?
When we have people driving hours to get to rural hospitals, or being taken by ambulance to get to rural hospitals, we're in a critical situation. Our rural hospitals have been closing by the dozens every year for the past couple of years. We as a state need to look at how we can help them out, support them in funding if need to be, although most of them are private, but we need to look at supporting them in funding. We also need to look at our universities, how people are becoming a doctor or a nurse, and get them to go to the rural areas and stay in the rural areas. Can't remember the TV show that was from Alaska where the doctor was there years ago in the 80s or 90s, a long time ago. We need to look at opportunities like that. We also need to look at telehealth. Telehealth is a great way, it's becoming the future. But with telehealth, we need to look at expanding our broadband to the rural areas for them to be able to do telehealth. Thank you.
All right, Rick. Same question, number 1 on the list. Missouri faces various challenges, including healthcare access and affordability. What legislative initiatives would you prioritize to improve healthcare outcomes for Missourians?
So I've sponsored legislation to require transparency. You know, 3 people can go in to do an MRI at the same hospital, and due to your insurance coverage, they're going to get 3 different prices. It's outrageous, that's robbery, and it's criminal in my opinion. It's putting people literally to where they can't afford to put food on their table because their medical bills are so crazy. So requiring that when you go and do elective type surgeries or procedures, you're able to see what you're going to be paid. Another is non-competes. This is a huge one. Folks, doctors that go to work for these big hospitals, guess what? To work there, they've got to sign non-competes. And then if they don't like working for the big, giant conglomerate hospital and they see a need in a little niche in their community, guess what? They can't serve their community for at least 2 years. That's outrageous. Could you imagine a plumber or any other trade or anything to where we have these sorts of non-competes? Absolutely not. We need that competition. And these hospitals have created the type of regulatory capture that keeps the care out of the cities and places that want to come there. So that's a huge one. Certificate of need. There's a bureaucratic process that they issue a permit, basically allowing you to open a healthcare facility. Why on earth is a bureaucracy telling a healthcare facility that there's a need in the community? Of course, if I'm a business owner, I'm going to go somewhere where I know there's a need. I'm not going to open a business otherwise. So I think getting government out of the way is the biggest precursor to those costs and saving costs and giving you great access. Another one I sponsored is the COVID tyranny nonsense, protecting your rights, freedoms, and liberties, making sure that you were able to keep your jobs and keep your livelihood from having to get a shot. That was another one, and that's not on here, but that's a big one.
One more for Michael, I'll read it here. Missouri faces various challenges, including health care access and affordability. What legislative initiatives would you prioritize to improve health care outcomes for Missourians?
We have got to get creative, and there's a lot of states that are doing a lot of things, and a couple of these have already been mentioned. And we've got to have a roundtable discussion, get people that are willing to sit down and talk and work through these issues. Not only telehealth services, but mobile clinics, especially for our veterans. Our veterans are grossly underserved with their medical needs. Rural urgent care. These little clinics are popping up. My wife's family farm from Lafayette County. Her dad lives in Lafayette County, farmers in Saline County. One of these little rural urgent care facilities opened up, and it's knocking it out of the ballpark. We gotta look at creative ideas on this. We took a look a couple years ago at authorizing participation in interstate licensure compact for physicians. But the administrative part of this is incredibly slow. We need some oversight to make sure that this is being done efficiently. If we pass the laws, let's make sure that it's working properly. We need to expand the capacity of advanced practice registered nurses, especially with the collaborative participation agreement with doctors. We've got underserved areas, especially within our agricultural communities, we need to take care of. And the other thing we need to take a hard look at is the workforce development initiatives. The governor's been very big on these non-traditional methods in order to make sure, especially within our medical communities, that we're properly have the manning that we need. So what does Fast Track do? It puts a very strict criteria on these individuals, but get them the critical training they need to meet the needs within the state of Missouri. We have a crisis in our nursing homes. We have a crisis in our veterans' homes. We are in a crisis with nurses across our hospitals. We have got to get this fixed, and it has to be a comprehensive policy.
All right, gentlemen, we have reached question number 8. The final one for you. Rick, you get to start it. And it reads, it is question 15, by the way. Would you support a bill that would give authority to the city